Good evening, everybody. Hurricane Hal here, across the river now from Steinhatchee, where I've been based all day. Landfall from Hurricane Idalia just west of here, about 22 miles. The big story here was the storm surge. I showed you footage this morning of how the river was running out, and then all of a sudden, within about 15 minutes, the river came racing in, crossing the roadways, flooding buildings, and carrying with it all kinds of debris, docking, moorings, ships sailing upriver that had broken off of their moorings. And at one point, there was a marina out here across the street from where I was staying, and the marina actually collapsed. The infrastructure started floating quickly across, really upriver into the house there, and now the marina is actually really based there on land. It crashed up onto land. But y'all, something that really stands out from what you see on the roads, a lot of times it looks like a house that may have been flooded and maybe have taken on some water, but you don't see the debris. Here on the other side of the river, from this perspective, we're looking at a property out there with 4 boats on the property. These boats were moving fast. They were washed up onto land. And so keep that in mind if you ride out a storm surge. Not only are you dealing with high water, sometimes you're going to have a lot of debris crashing into your home or your business. And that could be boats, that could be docking, that could be all kinds of things. Another story that came out this evening, when I first saw the storm surge come rushing in, I was parked in a parking lot, and there was a small business there next to a restaurant. There was a business and a truck that were next to each other. Went back this evening to find the high water mark, and the business is no longer there. It's completely gone, and the truck has been washed to the other side of the parking lot. So whole businesses, whole buildings are gone, and just completely vanished, washed away by the fast-moving water. So again, that's the story here in Steinhatchee. This area along the coast, storm surge was a big deal. As you get farther to the west, places like Perry, they're a little bit inland, but wind had some big impacts there. Some damage to roofs, some damage to homes, and a lot of tree falls in places like Perry, Florida. So just what we're seeing here, in general, the impacts were more to smaller towns and rural areas. The big cities were generally spared. A lot of people here evacuated to Gainesville. They made it through the storm okay and are already back. We don't really have to go through big cities to get out of here, so people could evac, even at the last minute, get back in pretty quickly. We talked to a family that had evacuated. They were watching on a webcam that the floodwater came into their house really all within a 15-minute period. So it hit fast. The surge was in and out in about 2 hours, but it did a lot of damage. When you get inland and a little bit west of here, a little bit east of Tallahassee, some of these smaller towns is where we saw really the core of the wind damage, but the wind damage was relatively small. You know, the radius of hurricane force winds was only 25 miles. So one last thing we saw up here, we saw Miami-Dade rescue. We saw reporters from Palm Beach. Again, Tampa wasn't hit. Tallahassee didn't take a direct hit. So in general, we saw more rural impacts, and so a lot of resources are rushing in here. Media are here. A lot of people focused on these small towns. We're hoping that gives them a quick recovery. Anyway, that's what I'm seeing here from across the river in Steinhatchee. Just wanted to give you an evening update. The weather is calm now. The winds are calm. This all happened so quickly this morning, and now people getting back on their feet. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll give you an update in the morning. This is Hurricane Hal across the river from Steinhatchee in a little place called Janet, Florida.